Hey guys, thanks for stopping by for another video here at All I See Is W, where we talk about stocks, Bitcoin, and finance. In today's video, we have a lot to talk about. I'll be covering the latest updates with Bitcoin. We'll talk about strategy, MSTR, as well as cover the big three miners using technical analysis, what my price predictions are for Bitcoin, MSTR, and the big three miners. And I'll also be giving you the latest fundamental updates. Now, if you're new to this channel, first off, I would really appreciate you hitting the like, subscribing for more related content. Let's begin, guys. Over the recent weeks of the stock market as well as Bitcoin, we've been seeing a lot more uncertainty, and all of this is attributed to a lot of what's going on with the changes in the direction with raising tariffs. That's causing a lot of market reaction here, even though I think contrary to that, it's actually a good thing to deliver results with improving the economy. But I think that's all going to be based on data to prove that, hey, we're seeing inflation going away, as well as seeing improvement in the CPI job numbers, as well as just seeing market certainty and stability all around the markets. But with all of the news that's going on right now, I think that's causing a lot of market reaction. And that's why we're seeing the price of Bitcoin, as well as even in the stock market. You see here, the price of Bitcoin, I mean, it finally just dropped down below the $80,000. I mean, in fact, you know, overnight trading, it went down to about 78,000. But today we saw some healthy consolidation, a lot of buying up from the whales here. But throughout the entire last 3.5 months, we've been just seeing Bitcoin hovering in that, that 90, $100,000 threshold. So I think what we're seeing here, it's nice to see some correction with the volatility. This is only going to allow for Bitcoin to, position itself for the next gap up. We did see some heavy overselling here. Just with the price dropping down below $80,000. But just looking at the 24-hour volume, we see, you know, volume picking up. And just looking at the money flow indicator here, we see money flow, going down to the bottom here, while at the time of like November, money flow indicator did go up. So consistent with RSI being significantly oversold here, I think we're going to see that V-shaped pattern with Bitcoin. Why do I see this coming? Just also looking at the fundamentals of Bitcoin as we look at Bitcoin and its correlation with the M2 global supply here, we see overall the M2 growth. Just in the recent days here, we see M2 global supply increasing from like February 17 to 2024. And what that typically means is that Bitcoin will eventually follow that increase, and Bitcoin has a tendency to like lag behind for about 2 months. But given the fact that M2 global supply is increasing, that's the liquidity all around the world. That's going to be an indicator that Bitcoin price is going to reverse as well. And just to keep in mind that Bitcoin bull cycle, we tend to have 3 positive years before entering a bear market. So if we factor in the last 2 years being upside in 2023, 2024, we're expected to see 2025 be another positive year before we enter that bear cycle. Let's take a look at this posting here. So Crypto Vici here. So BTC 1, 2, 3 bullish divergence. So what we're seeing here, just from a near-term perspective is, lower support levels here. This is really going to cause a reverse pattern, a reverse hammer, reverse pattern just with the data that we're seeing. So I think Bitcoin is eventually going to have a V shape up here. And all of this is going to be, attributed to just the technical indicators, especially with Bitcoin price dropping below 100,000. I mean, this is an opportunity to buy before Bitcoin price goes up to the next level up. Let's take a look at this posting here from Adam. I'm still bullish on Bitcoin hitting new highs in 2025, and here's why I think it could break 150,000 by end of year. I'm actually forecasting Bitcoin to break through 180 to $200,000, similar to what Tom Lee was saying, that Tom was suggesting that it'll hit 70,000 before we gap up to 200,000. One, the halving's long-term scarcity effect combined with the growing institutional adoption, think more nations, states, corporations, and ETFs piling in could drive demand through the roof. Two, macro liquidity might ebb and flow, but Bitcoin's narrative as a hedge against inflation and currency debasement feels stronger than ever, especially with global geopolitical uncertainties. Three, altcoin season ending means Bitcoin's dominance could solidify, pulling in retail and whales alike. Blow off tops, maybe not parabolic, but I see steady upward pressure from derivatives markets maturing, not capping growth. Four, global regulatory clarity and ETF expansion could unlock new demand as more countries establish clearer regulations around Bitcoin. Institutional capital that was previously sidelined due to uncertainty could flood in. The continued success of US spot Bitcoin ETFs may push other nations like Hong Kong and the EU to accelerate their own offerings, expanding the investor base dramatically. Five, the AI and Bitcoin synergy is just beginning, with AI-driven financial models and automated trading strategies gaining dominance. Bitcoin's transparent, verifiable scarcity makes it an ideal asset for AI-optimized portfolios. Additionally, AI-driven economic shifts could reinforce the need for a neutral, non-sovereign store of value, accelerating Bitcoin adoption at an unprecedented scale. Let's take a look at another posting here from Adam. You can never outrun M2 expansion unless you store your time and energy in Bitcoin. Let's talk about reality. The M2 supply expands relentlessly. Your wages, they don't keep up. Your savings, they're being silently stolen. Every time the Fed prints, the wealthy, the closest to the money printer, get richer while you work harder just to stand still. Here's the truth. M2 money supply has ballooned over the decades, diluting the value of every dollar you earn. The wealthiest 1% see their net worth rise in tandem with M2 because they own real assets, stocks, real estate, and businesses, while your paycheck buys less each year. If you're saving in dollars, you're running on a treadmill that never stops accelerating. This isn't incompetence, it's by design. The Cantillon effect ensures that closest to money creation, banks, corporations, and political elite capture the lion's share while you get crumbs. You can't work your way out of this. You can't invest your way out of this. You can't outrun the M2 expansion, but you can opt out. Bitcoin is your only escape. There will only be 21 million, no dilution, no backroom deals, no Cantillon insiders. You can store your time and energy in a monetary asset that cannot be debased. It's portable, censorship resistant, and immune to manipulation. Fix the money and you fix your future. Stay in dollars and you stay on the hamster wheel, running harder while getting nowhere. Time is the most valuable thing you have. Protect it. Opt out. Stack Bitcoin. Bullish, very valuable comment here. I could definitely resonate with what Adam has posted here. So thank you for that perspective. Here we're looking at public companies that own Bitcoin. MicroStrategy, they're at 499,096 Bitcoin on their treasury right now. Next up you have Mara Digital Holdings. In fact, Mara announced their earnings report on Wednesday. They're currently at 40,440 435,000 Bitcoins. In fact, Mara announced some positive earnings report. I mean, their EPS was like dollar, mid $1 range with the expected analysts, nearly half of that earnings per share actual performance. And their revenue, they set record numbers with their revenue. One thing to keep in mind is that while their hash rate has grown significantly, their fleet efficiency has improved tremendously as well, bringing down their costs of Bitcoin to mine. And just with their HODL, I mean, just increasing their Bitcoin yield, as Bitcoin tops out in the year 2025. I think all of that's going to reflect with their upcoming next earnings report in Q1 timeframe when they announce in Q2. So very positive news with Mara, and I think that with the recent oversold, Mara is definitely going to have, some upside when it comes to their share price. Along with Riot Platforms, I mean, currently at 18,221, Riot announced their earnings report on Monday as well and had positive upside as well with their earnings per share beating the expected earnings per share, along with having, you know, actual revenue, positive performance. I think it was very similar to what Mara reported, but just with these big time hodler miners, Riot, I think just with it, also having share price being slammed just recently, I think here's an upside potential where Riot can, easily just start V-shaping back up just with the recent oversold in the stock markets, Bitcoin and the miners that we're covering here. But very solid news with what Riot has announced with their financial data, along with the, potential for tapping into HPC AI. So I think right now they're entertaining different clients in this sector. And one thing to keep in mind is Stargate is, a project for the United States to really increase the throughput with AI. And Riot has the capacity, the real estate in Texas right now, and they already have the infrastructure set up when it comes to, the gigawatt capacity. So you think about the ERCOT energy potential at Riot facility, these type of investors, they're looking for real estate that already has the energy set up because it's very difficult to get the energy power supply set up in addition to having just land by itself. So I think Riot has positioned itself to look very attractive, which is why we have big time investors just recently investing into Riot Platforms. So from a share price perspective, definitely some huge upside here, along with CleanSpark. Right. So CleanSpark previously announced solid earnings report. I mean, their fleet efficiency is like second best right now. They are a pure miner play. Everything that they have right now, over 10,556 Bitcoin on their treasury, all of that was mined. CleanSpark, they continue to just ramp up their hash rate. In fact, their hash rate is getting, very high. They do have a milestone achievement in this year by June to reach above 50 exahash. So by that time, CleanSpark will be ranked number two when it comes to the amount of Bitcoin mines per every hour. So CleanSpark, in addition to their high hash rate along with fleet efficiency, that's really going to bring down their cost to mine, and they're going to be dominating that, just focusing on the blueprint that they're used to when it comes to scalability, being a pure Bitcoin miner play. But from a fundamentals perspective, I think that CleanSpark has it. They're, a competitive Bitcoin miner here. But when you look at it from a technical perspective, CleanSpark has so much upside just with the recent overselling. I mean, RSI has been hugely oversold, but we'll take a look at that information as well. So here we're looking at MSTR just with the technicals here. Key takeaway is, just going through the last couple years from 2023 to now, we've seen multiple iterations of, corrections here. You see a correction here, you see a correction here, you see a correction here, a correction here. And you're seeing a correction here, but over time, what are we seeing here? Just higher highs. Key takeaway here is volatility is vitality. And when you think about MSTR, I mean, what they're doing is they're differentiating themselves from main companies here. Why? Because they've, done what no other company has done, and that is to acquire as much Bitcoin as possible. We'll play a clip at the end where Saylor talks about, the Mag 7, these type of companies, why they're the biggest companies, because they use that approach to dematerialize everything. You look at, for example, Amazon. How did Amazon become the biggest company? Well, they dematerialized all the front stores, actual physical stores by now people being able to online shop. So that's one aspect. MSTR is doing the same thing. They're dematerializing the fiat money, and at one point, everything is going to be positioned around Bitcoin as the top commodity. We take a look at this posting here, Mara, reminder that what can happen in just 2 quarters, especially with the ratio of institutions owning more than 75% of Mara and shorts is at 24%. Are we going to see a short squeeze? Who knows? But we've seen what happened back in that, prior Bitcoin run up, $3 all the way up to like, $80. So, you know, you never know what can happen. We saw, just big run ups with other altcoins. We've seen it with GameStop, AMC. So there's no question that, you know, it's it's very possible that Mara can have that similar run up, along with Riot and CleanSpark as well. We take a look at this posting here from Matt. Once more unto the breach, dear friends, bought Bitcoin overnight at 79,000. CleanSpark and Riot after market open. Bitcoin oversold on all time frames. Bulls clearly willing to defend support. CleanSpark valuation at one price to book. Riot chart looks great for reversal. So just looking at this Riot chart here, you see support level here, reverse head and shoulder. But what happened when we saw that big RSI dropping, down to like 1520? We saw that big bounce back up. What happened here when the RSI was reaching below that threshold? We saw that run up, right, from September all the way up towards the election. But with this big, drop off here, this big red candle here, where RSI reached below that threshold, we're expected to see some run up here with Riot Platforms from a technicals analysis here. We take a look at this posting here from Stock Trader Max, my favorite CLSK chart right now. CleanSpark versus Bitcoin. It's getting tighter and tighter. Not long until we are back in rocket mode. So key takeaway here is, we see, you know, uh, a bullish tenant flag here, pennant flags here, bullish pennant flag here, diverging a bull flag here. But what happens, with these indicators? We see, reverse patterns kicking in here, right? So we're expected to see a big bounce back from a technical perspective. These big three miners have been hugely oversold, and I think that there's so much potential here. But as we look at just the overall year to date, just based on the four stocks that I covered here, so Riot is at 14% drop, MSTR 14%, CleanSpark 15%, Mara, biggest loss here 19%. But let's just, zoom in even further, within the 3 months, Riot 18%, CleanSpark 23%, Mara right behind at 24%, MSTR at 25%. So the race is very tight here, within a 1 month scale, but I definitely do see some upside when it comes to just these stocks here. On the last 5 days, because Mara has been dropping so much recently, we see Mara, only at a 3% drop off, while Riot's at minus 10%. CleanSpark minus 12%. MSTR took a big hit, 15%. So, just with the RSI being hugely oversold here, I do think that there's so much upside with these stocks that are hedging Bitcoin here. But with that, I'd like to just hand it off to Michael Saylor with a short clip here.
If you roll the clock back a decade, I was always a big tech investor enthusiast. So I wrote The Mobile Wave back 2011. I published it 2012. And the theme of the mobile wave is that Apple, Facebook, Amazon, and Google are going to eat the world. And that's because all the things that we have in our life that are physical are dematerializing onto a software network. Apple ended up dematerializing all your mobile devices. Google ended up dematerializing every library and every piece of video. Facebook ended up dematerializing our social relationships. Amazon ended up dematerializing the storefront.
So there you have it. I hope you found this video valuable. If you did, I would really appreciate you hitting the like, subscribing, turn on the bell notification, and I'd love to hear, where you're watching from, what your thoughts are from watching this video here. Let me know what your comments or questions are down below. Thanks again for watching and stay tuned for more updates at All I See Is W. Thank you guys.